Now for the news in detail. Let's begin here in Pakistan, which says India might stage a false flag operation to implicate and target the country. In a statement, Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi said he would write a letter to the UN Security Council's president over the situation. He said New Delhi desperately wants to divert the world's attention from its atrocities in Indian occupied Kashmir. Qureshi said India is also hatching conspiracies to disrupt peace in Pakistan's midwestern Balochistan province. The Organization of Islamic Cooperation has rejected India's recently introduced domicile law in occupied Kashmir. In a statement, the body said India is mischievously using the COVID-19 pandemic to alter the demography of Muslim majority in the valley. The bloc's Human Rights Commission said the people of Kashmir have squarely denounced this law as yet another illegal move. The commission said such steps by New Delhi are designed to systematically pave the way for settlement colonialism. It said India is institutionalizing a system of domination over indigenous Muslims by converting them into a minority within their homeland. The body called it a violation of human rights of Kashmiris under treaties including Articles 27 and 49 of the Fourth Geneva Convention. The occupied valley has been reeling under New Delhi's curfew and communications blackout for the past 290 days. Massive protests and rallies have broken out in occupied Kashmir after the martyrdom of a freedom fighter, Junaid Sahrai. Yesterday, Indian forces martyred Sahrai and his associate during a cordon and search operation in the valley's capital, Srinagar. Defying the curfew, people came out of their houses and chanted anti-India and pro-freedom slogans. Indian troops fired pellets and tear gas to disperse the demonstrators, wounding dozens of civilians. Meanwhile, hundreds of people participated in the funeral prayers in absentia for the freedom fighter in Srinagar. The funeral outside the house of the martyred was led by his father and pro-freedom leader Ashraf Sahrai. Occupation forces have martyred 7 Kashmiris in the ongoing month of May. Pakistan has recorded the highest number of single-day COVID-19 deaths as 46 people lost their lives, taking the toll to 985. The Health Ministry reports 1,932 new cases over the last 24 hours, bringing the total to nearly 46,000. The ministry said over 13,000 patients have recovered so far, while 344 remain critical. It said more than 414,000 tests have been conducted countrywide, with nearly 14,000 since yesterday. Meanwhile, the Asian Development Bank has approved a $300 million loan to strengthen Pakistan's COVID-19 fight. The project will support the purchase of medical supplies and personal protective equipment for health workers. In the U.S., over 1,500 more people have died from COVID-19 as that country's death toll nears 92,000. Worldwide, the death count has crossed 323,000, with nearly 4.9 million infections. More on that now in this report.
While COVID-19 curve appears to be flattening in many parts of the world, the virus continues to surge across Latin America. Brazil's daily death toll jumped to a record 1,179, increasing its tally to nearly 18,000. U.S. President Donald Trump says he is considering imposing a complete travel ban from Brazil.
I don't want people coming in here and affecting our people. I don't want people over there sick either. We're helping Brazil with ventilators. We're sending them ventilators, okay? They need ventilators. I'm sending them ventilators. We have so many thousands of them. We're sending them. We're sending a lot of people. No, Brazil is having some trouble. No question about it.
The Pan-American Health Organization also warned of mass virus spread at tri-border area of Amazon.
Protecting vulnerable groups is critical to addressing the health, social, and economic emergencies and winning the fight against COVID-19. It's necessary because we can't stop the spread of the virus if we don't focus on all those affected by it, including vulnerable population.
In North America, the U.S., Canada, and Mexico have extended their agreements to keep their shared borders closed to non-essential travel till June 21st.
In Afghanistan, officials say gunmen have opened fire at a mosque in central Parwan province, killing at least 9 worshippers and wounding 10 others. Police said gunmen stormed the mosque when worshippers were offering evening prayers after breaking their Ramadan fast. In a separate incident, 8 government soldiers have been killed, repelling a fierce attack on northern Kunduz city. In a statement, the Defense Ministry said Taliban fighters attacked several government posts on the outskirts of the city. The Taliban have claimed responsibility for the Kunduz raid while blaming Kabul for the mosque attack. Spokesman Zabiullah Mujahid said fighters overran a base in Telwoka area of the capital, killing 20 Afghan soldiers. Well, the UN assistance mission in Afghanistan has expressed alarm over a surge in the number of civilian casualties in the country. In a report, UNAMA urged warring sides to engage in intra-Afghan talks as civilian casualties jumped to 380 in April. It said the Taliban were responsible for 208 civilian casualties in April, an increase of 25% in comparison to April 2019, while casualties attributed to Afghan security forces rose by 38% to 172. The UN called for a halt to fighting to protect citizens. Meanwhile, the Taliban have rejected the report, saying it is propaganda of the Kabul administration. In a statement, the spokesperson alleged majority of casualties are caused by blind airstrikes and firing of U.S. and internal forces. Pakistan, China, Iran, and Russia have urged all stakeholders in Afghanistan to declare a comprehensive ceasefire across the country. The special representatives of the 4 countries held a virtual conference to discuss the current situation in the war-torn country. In a joint statement, the representatives welcomed the recent power-sharing agreement between President Ashraf Ghani and Dr. Abdullah Abdullah. They urged all sides to take decisive action against Al-Qaeda, ISIS, the TTP, and other terrorist organizations operating against regional countries. The quartet asked Afghanistan to completely eradicate the production and trafficking of narcotics in the country. They also supported the Afghan-led and Afghan-owned peace and reconciliation process. The 4 countries called on all Afghan ethnic groups and parties, including the Taliban, to act in unison for the start of intra-Afghan talks at the earliest. Former U.S. Vice President and Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden has strongly opposed Israel's plans to annex parts of the West Bank and Jordan Valley. During a virtual fundraiser, Biden said Tel Aviv's plans will damage any hope of peace in the decade-old conflict. The presumptive Democratic presidential nominee said U.S. President Donald Trump's Middle East plan has undercut the peace process. Meanwhile, Palestine's President Mahmoud Abbas has voided all pacts with Israel and the U.S. after Tel Aviv announced it will go ahead with the annexation. Palestinian state media said Abbas made the announcement during an emergency meeting held in Ramallah to discuss the Israeli plans. The Libyan army has captured 2 towns near the Tunisian border from militias of renegade warlord Khalifa Haftar. In a statement, the Libyan National Army spokesman Ahmed al-Mismari said the forces carried out repositioning on battlefronts. He said forces entered the towns of Badr and Tej and were welcomed by local residents. Earlier, the Libyan army recaptured the strategic Al-Watiya airbase south of Tripoli, which had been under Haftar's control for about 6 years. The Libyan government has been under attack by Haftar's forces since April 2019, with over 1,000 killed in the violence. Moscow has called redeployment of U.S. nuclear arms from Germany to Poland a direct violation of a Russia-NATO pact. Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said the 1997 agreement between Russia and NATO was drafted to overcome lack of trust and reduce the threat of war. He said the agreement prohibits the deployment of nuclear weapons on the territory of new members of the North Atlantic Alliance. In a statement, Russia's foreign ministry said Moscow hopes Washington and Warsaw are aware of the dangerous nature of such moves. On May 15th, the U.S. ambassador to Poland, Georgette Mosbacher said there is a possibility of U.S. nuclear weapons relocation from Germany to Poland. The U.S. and China have once again clashed over the COVID-19 pandemic. This time, the ongoing tensions spilled over at the UN Security Council meeting held to discuss humanitarian aid operations in Syria. U.S. envoy Kelly Craft called on Beijing to support the UN to combat the outbreak by delivering life-saving aid to Syria. In response, Chinese diplomat Zhang Jun urged Washington to stop playing political games to divert attention from its failures. Last month, Washington suspended funding to the WHO, accusing the UN agency of covering Chinese disinformation about the outbreak. The standoff has also caused a delay in adopting a UNSC resolution calling for a global ceasefire amid the contagion. Turkish Foreign Minister Mevlut Çavuşoğlu says the UN Security Council has been ineffective in the battle against COVID-19. Addressing the virtual Antalya Diplomacy Forum, he said months have passed since the outbreak and the Council has yet to come up with a joint resolution. The forum was held for the first time this year under the theme of digital diplomacy. The foreign ministers of Turkey, Finland, Switzerland, and officials from AU Commission and UN discussed the pandemic. Participants shared their views, insights, and ideas on mediation in the time of a global health crisis. Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan will address an emergency meeting of the World Economic Forum today via video link. The meeting, which will be attended by leaders of the entire world, will discuss the coronavirus pandemic and its effects on the world. The Prime Minister will apprise the forum about steps taken by Pakistan to curb the spread of novel coronavirus. Earlier, the World Economic Forum President Borj Brand invited Prime Minister Imran Khan to attend the forum. He said there are close to 1,000 companies on the WEF COVID Action Platform and over 50 projects coming out of the public-private cooperation. I'll be back after this break with business news. Stay tuned. The UK says it wants a Brexit-free trade deal, but the EU does not understand that it is negotiating with a sovereign state. Speaking in London, British Cabinet Minister Michael Gove said there are areas with a significant difference of principles, notably on fisheries. Gove said the government remains committed to a deal with a free trade agreement at its core. He said the British government is looking forward to the fourth round of negotiations beginning on the 1st of June. Earlier, the UK had announced a new post-Brexit tariff regime to replace the EU's external tariffs, maintaining a 10% duty on cars. Abu Dhabi's flag carrier Etihad Airways has laid off hundreds of employees in May, including cabin crew. The decision was taken after the coronavirus pandemic forced it to ground flights. In a statement, the Etihad spokesperson said there have been redundancies across several areas of the airline. She said it is clear the demand for travel in the near future will be significantly reduced. The spokesperson said the company is making difficult decisions to ensure Etihad will weather the storm. Etihad, which has lost $5.6 billion since 2016, has also slashed wages. EasyJet says a highly sophisticated cyber attack has affected approximately 9 million customers. It said the email addresses and travel details have been stolen and credit card details of over 2,000 customers have also been compromised. In a statement, the budget carrier said there is no evidence that any personal information of any nature has been misused. The company said it has engaged forensic experts to investigate the issue and has also notified Britain's National Cybersecurity Centre. It advised people whose data has been hacked to stay alert. Asian stock markets are trading mixed over an unchanged benchmark lending rate by China. Investors are treading cautiously as they analyze data after more economies reopen. The Nikkei 225 is trading nearly 1% higher. Seoul's Kospi has gained nearly 0.5%. The Shanghai Composite has lost nearly 0.5%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index is trading marginally lower. Meanwhile, the international benchmark Brent crude oil price has gained marginally. Well, that's all for this bulletin. Of course, for more on these stories and others, you can always follow us on our social media at Indus.news. Thanks for watching.